The Camaro's in the garage. We're going to try to do a DIY track alignment. This is my track car, budget track car. So basically, for my racetrack alignment, I want as much negative camber as I can get out of the stock factory adjustments. And I'm going to go for zero toe. If I can get some more caster, great, but I think the stock caster is roughly where I want to be. And when I dip the negative camber, I think I'll be getting closer to more positive caster anyways. So let's just dive right in. I got one of these camber, and you can use for caster measurement tools. Let's see if we can set it up. Now we're in the garage because it's flat, it's level. It's the only area I have that's flat and level. So let's make do with what we got. First up, we need to calibrate our tool. So I'm going to find something nice and level. And you see the bubbles there and there. So my toolbox is pretty level. So now we take this, stick it to there. And now we just want to calibrate this. You see the bubbles on +2 right now. I'm unscrewing the screw on the back to bring it to 0 camber. And just like that, we have now calibrated this. So now in the front of the car, we calibrated this. Now I'm going to stick it against the brake rotor. The brake rotor is going to be roughly the same angle as the wheel, since the wheel is tightened against the rotor. So there we go. And now the bubble here, you just turn left or right to get it centered, just like that. And now our reading is showing just about 0 camber. So our factory setting on this driver's side front tire is just about 0, a little more towards the negative side, but that is not enough camber for a track. So we got our baseline. Let's write it down. Let's go to the other side and measure that. Next up, we're going to measure our toe. So we're going to do this, the yarn or the string method. So pick this up at Harbor Freight for like $5. It kind of works perfectly. I don't even need to waste this. I can just leave it wrapped up. This is like a construction reel string, something like that. And I wrapped it up, put it on jack stands, and it's sitting pretty tight. So I think the way this works is you place them out and you want to measure 0 toe on these back tires. So we got 1 3/4 there. Measuring here. We got 1 3/4 there. So I think the way it works is, since the back tire should always be 0 toe, we have 0 toe, we have a straight line. Now we measure here, and you just pick a spot on the wheel to measure from. 1 1/4, just over 1 1/4, and just about in the same spot. Now the tricky thing is you have to be very fine at, like, down to the 1/16 of an inch. So I'm not very good with measuring. I'm going to spend some time measuring this out, and then I'll write down what the specs are. Started writing down my measurements. So our camber was pretty even at -0.25 or 1/4, and we have a little bit of toe in on both sides, a little more on the left side, but that all looks like, I'm guessing, within factory spec. Someone gave it a typical alignment on it at some point. And the old tires really weren't worn out like crazy, so it seems about right. So now we got the front up in the air on jack stands. Now we are going to measure, make our adjustments. So we were at -0.25. We want to move this. Now that we're up in the air, we're showing at +1. We need to recalibrate this to go down to -0.25. Back to what we were on the ground. Something like that. There we go. So now when we make our adjustments, we're calibrated with what we were on the ground, and we can match this up to where we want to be. It's not going to be exact. We might have to do this a couple times, put it on the ground, put it back up. But this is going to be as close as we can get without having something to load the suspension. All right, under the car here, I went ahead and loosened our adjustment points. So this is the front bolt for the lower control arm. This one adjusts your camber, and the one in the rear back here adjusts the caster. So we want to max out both of them, but mainly we care about the camber. So when I take a wrench here, now that it's loose, and it's not crazy tight or anything. Luckily this car is not super rusty or anything. So it's loosened now. All I do is turn it with the bolt, and that pushes the lower control arm outward. That is giving me more negative camber. This is back to positive. So we want to adjust it all the way out as far as the factory adjustment point will let us go. And then we want to lock it down on the back side. So that is what I will do. If I can wedge this in properly, I think I can, I can push with the pry bar out as far as it will go. And now I can tighten the back side here. And here we can see it was back here. Now we just moved it forward as far as it can go. Now, if this adjustment is not enough for you, you can take the bolt out. You can trim and elongate this hole to get a little bit more. But for now, I'm just going to stick with whatever the factory adjustments are. Just max out those. So we moved that all the way out. Let's check our gauge now. Now we calibrated this tool with it up in the air back to what the setting was on the ground. Now after making our camber adjustments, we are sitting right about -1, maybe a little past -1. So we definitely gained a little bit negative camber, and it looks like that's all we're gonna get out of it. Now, when we lower it on the ground, I expect it will kind of sit down and give us more of that negative camber. So let's go do the other side, and then we will verify. And just finished up this side, and same thing, we are at about 1 negative camber, just about the same spot as the other side. So that was max adjustment, and they both ended up in the same rough spot, at least when the car is up in the air. That's another way to verify that the frame, the subframe, seems to be in good shape. And can't forget, we got to zero this out back to 0. There we go. Now we're showing 0 on there. And there we go, showing -1 camber. So that's pretty close to what we were seeing up in the air. And on the other side, we're showing -1, a little under, maybe -3/4. Got the string all set up. So let's measure this. I find a ruler actually helps. It's not, these aren't accurate measurements, but they are the consistent measurements, which matters more. So right here we got 2 3/4, and on the inside lip here, 2 3/4. So we are squared up with the rear tire. Let's check our front, and if you can just see, we got a lot of toe in. And when that was the same on the passenger side, I've already done that side. So right here, it's showing 2. Oh man, 2 3/4. We got a whole 3/4 of an inch of toe in. I think that's the math. Well, let's fix that. Let's bring some toe out. So I broke the lock nut here loose, and now I am just spinning the tie rod. We have toe in, we want to toe out, so turning it counterclockwise. And I'm gonna do about 3 turns because we got quite a ways to go. So I think I got the toe adjusted properly now. When we measure now, we're at 2.5. And we're at 2.5. So we're looking good. I'll measure the back again to verify, but I think our toe is properly set up now. And last step, I just jacked it up, put it on some brake rotors so that way the suspension's loaded. And I just torqued down all the lower control arm bolts and the tie rod ends. We are good to go. Let's put it back on the ground and let's take it for a test drive. GoPro died, so we're on the phone, but real question, does it track straight? And it looks like it does. That's pretty good. Yep, we're staying pretty straight. And if it's off by just a slight bit. The road's not very flat, but I think we're good. Not hearing any noises or anything. So now, this DIY alignment isn't going to be exact. If this is like a daily driver, you'd have to take this into an alignment shop. So there you have it. There's a DIY alignment done on this Camaro. It's tracking straight. It seems fine, but we won't really know till we bring it on a track, or if we bring it to an alignment shop, we could find out, like I was saying, this is not exact, but it's close. And we're gonna roll with it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.